Hey guys, it's Vincent with Vascotoys. You can make realistic concrete like this, and I'm going to show you how. Alright, so we're going to start out with some XPS foam, and we're also going to use some lightweight wall spackle and an old gift card that I have to spread the wall spackle. Show you guys how to do that next. The first part of the process is very simple. Just get some wall spackle and start applying it to the foam. Now, I actually did texture this foam beforehand with some tin foil and I carved it into some slabs. If you guys want to see how to do that, check out this video up in the top right hand corner. So for this part, all you're doing is trying to get some good coverage. I don't like to completely cover this, but we're trying to get a realistic concrete look, and the wall spackle is going to help us get that texture. Let this dry for about 15 minutes and you'll be good to go to the next step. Now we want to apply our base coat of paint. We're going to use Heather Gray by Anita's, which is one of my favorite colors to use for concrete bases. So first thing I'm going to do, get my palette out, get my paint all set up, and then we're going to get going with a little bit of a time lapse here. All I'm doing here is covering everything as completely as I possibly can so that we can start to get full coverage and start to get some secondary colors down after this dries. It's time for a black wash, so I'm going to use a mixture of black paint, water, and some brown paint. And I'm going to get it into this cup, make sure I mix it up, and get it ready to be applied to the diorama. One thing I want to make sure is that this is thin enough, so I test it against the cup. And then I go ahead and start applying it along the cracked areas, the separation in the concrete slabs, if you will. And then after that dries, I go ahead and start at the top and let gravity work its way down the diorama. So here what I'm doing is I'm really more so staining this than I am painting it. And you guys can see I'm starting out with the wet paint and then I'm really just wiping it until it dries up as much as it can and so it doesn't smear. And I feel like this almost mimics weathering over time, like if rainwater was hitting this concrete, dirt, all that kind of stuff, it would happen from top to bottom over time in various layers and leave various kind of streaks. And this is really where the spackle is going to come into play. The paint and the black wash are going to work together to really bring that texture out, and you'll really start to see some amazing concrete look in your diorama piece. Just a quick reminder, if you're liking the video, please hit the thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Back to the tutorial. Okay, so I let the first few layers of black wash dry, but I'm going to go at it again. And I kind of start at the top with a little bit more of a wet brush, and you can see some of the beads of paint running down the very thin paint. I'm going to allow that to happen because, again, I think it makes a more realistic look because if gravity was pushing this down the wall, this is how it would happen. So I start out by letting the beads come down, and you guys will see the next thing I'm going to do is repeat the process we saw in the last step, where I'm going to start applying my soft strokes of my brush to make sure that I blend this in a little bit more because I don't want all those streaks to appear in beaded fashion. And with this step, I'm really just using all of the paint that is possibly on the brush from that black wash paint and water mixture. I'm just going to keep working my way down the diorama, and you'll notice as I apply this, I usually start in the middle of the diorama and then I'll pick a side left or right and then make sure I cover the other side. What I continue to do here is just apply the black wash and make sure that I get like every last bit of that black wash off my brush so that I can push the rainwater or weathering water down the rest of the diorama and get that effect that I'm looking for that plays into the texture of the wall spackle that we talked about. We're making good progress. I think it's looking good so far. Okay, it's time to step away from the black wash and use a brown wash for this one. Now for this piece, I'm using several different shades of brown, tan, desert sand, all those kinds of things, and water as my mixture. And this is a very, very thin coat that I want to use. This wash is extremely thin because I want it to be somewhat subtle, and I'd rather have it be subtle and have to do several coats of the wash than have it be too powerful and have to repaint the whole thing. And this is really the same process that we saw with the black wash. Working from top to bottom, I'm hitting some of the corners this side because I want to make sure the one side that is visible that's not magnetized is going to have a similar effect of weathering moving down the piece as the front part of this does. Hopefully you can start to see what's taking shape here. We've got some color variations right now, which I think are really nice and add to the realism of the piece. So we're going to continue that through and see what we can come up with. One of the cool things about painting the diorama this way is that you don't have to wait for it to dry, because I'm essentially drying the washes as I go, as I'm using these longer strokes kind of to work all of the paint off of the brush and ensure that we are getting full coverage and full color variation. This is actually going to be the last step, the last wash that we do on this piece before we take a look and see how we did. So here it is, the final piece, all dry and ready to be sealed. Let me know what you guys think of it in the comments. I want to thank you so much for watching the tutorial video today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave me a comment. Let me know what other kinds of diorama tutorials you guys are looking for. Otherwise, hit subscribe, hit like, and we'll see you in the next episode.